The voice of sharing Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene.
This is Jolene.
And of course, you are with us at Reneon ASEAN to discuss about an interesting topic relating to green technology. And this time in the second segment, we will discuss on the energy outlook in Southeast Asia with the speaker Dinesh Selvamurthy, founder and business developer of Reneon Technologies, explaining to us. So, in the first segment, you share a lot about your company development and your vision for green technologies to be in Southeast Asia and also in Malaysia right now. In terms of energy outlook in Southeast Asia, how much is the consumption of energy among Southeast Asia and also in Malaysia?
Right. I mean, it's good that you asked me this question because, first of all, there's a very basic misconception that energy only primarily means electricity usage. Now, that is definitely not true. Energy consists of a lot of other things, including power generations from coal, from fuel, gas, so on and so forth. But what we are targeting primarily is electricity usage of things. But before I go in depth into Malaysia, let me just give you a brief overview about the outlook of Southeast Asia for the next couple of decades.
So, next couple of decades in
Yes.
beyond 2020.
Beyond 2020. We're talking about up to 2040. Because let's think about the future. I mean, let's think about the next few decades or the changes that we can make in Southeast Asia to be truly green and truly energy efficient. So I'm going to quote a couple of statistics from the International Energy Agency, where do you know that energy demand has increased by more than 50% since the year 2000 to 2013, and this increase will continue to be improving further over the next.
And this is partly due to the Asia expansion, economic expansion.
That is correct, the ASEAN expansion. I mean, we have seen amazing growth in the Southeast Asian region. I mean, just look at the growth from the various Southeast Asian region countries, including Malaysia. Let's not forget Malaysia. And we will see an energy demand increasing by more than 80% over the next couple of decades, all the way to 2040. Now, of that, the power sector would triple by the year 2040. What that means is that right now, compared to right now, we'll be needing more than 400 gigawatts of power supply to actually power the entire Southeast Asia.
And has governments in Southeast Asia figured it out? Like, where are they getting all the power?
I think there are a lot of plans currently being done. There are a lot of policies involved because building power plants, deciding what kind of power plants to build isn't a simple task. There are a lot of analysis to be done, and definitely there are plans put in place. Malaysia, at least, we have tons of plans being put in place. It's just a matter of implementation over the next few years on how do we address this demand need. Now, 400 gigawatts is actually a huge amount. We're talking about basically the current installed capacity of what Japan and South Korea has at the moment. So over the next decade, you can see a lot of transformational power plants being built in Southeast Asia.
The next one, I mean, we look at the general outlook on Southeast Asia, but to scale it down to Malaysia right now, what is the government plan to sort of diversify the energy supplier?
Right, definitely there has been a lot of emphasis given for renewable energy sources. I mean, SEDA was founded with initial goal of driving renewable energy like PV, solar energy, biomass, hydro plants, so on and so forth. And with the feed-in tariff, they have been doing an amazing job as well. But over the next few years, we will be seeing more people looking into renewable energy. But at the same time, that
renewable energy as in solar or hydro or what?
Altogether.
Altogether.
I mean, as a whole, one individual source wouldn't be sufficient to power the entire country. Even that being said, we will still be quite reliant on fossil fuel sources. Coal-based gas, so on and so forth, would still take a lead compared to renewable energy.
But the government says that it is planning to reduce the usage of carbon. So what is, in this case, what do the government mean actually?
Right. I think what you're trying to mention is what our Prime Minister mentioned, that we will be trying to reduce our carbon intensity by 40% by the year 2020. Now, carbon intensity is basically the carbon emission release in according to the GDP. So essentially, there are two ways to look about it. One is that if you increase your GDP drastically, obviously your carbon intensity reduces with the carbon emission being the same amount. Secondly, obviously there's a lot of initiatives being put in place whereby energy efficiency is really taking a lead, and one of the industries or that government is looking into is obviously in the building sector. Now, building sector is a huge chunk of the energy consumption in Malaysia. And that's where a lot of initiatives are being launched by the government, as well as corporates are even looking into this. It helps increasing their profits by reducing spending into your energy utilities.
So you say that buildings will consume a lot of energies. And recently I read that data centers consume most energies due to the booming of the digital markets. So what do you think, and what sectors or industries has the highest energy consumption?
No doubt that's one of the main areas, but I wouldn't think that data center would be the largest one.
Okay.
Primarily because yes, we do have a couple of data centers in Malaysia, but they're not very large. We still outsource a lot of our data centers to Singapore or overseas. And data centers, the reason why they have large energy consumption is because the servers have to run 24/7. You can't turn them off.
Yeah.
But that being said, the larger the buildings are, the more likely you use more electricity usage. And that will come either from shopping malls or large facilities. So those will use a lot of electricity usage. Now, an interesting fact would be in buildings, electricity consumption usage, especially in Malaysia, primarily is due to usage of cooling systems, aircon, chiller systems, as well as appliances. So yes, data centers fit into a small portion of that, but primarily it would be the larger commercial and industrial buildings that will consist the most.
So previously you mentioned about renewable energies, and I wonder what type of renewable energies would be widely adopted in Malaysia in the future.
Well, we are gifted with a lot of sunlight, no doubt about it.
But isn't that like a lot of humidity and lots of cloud cover?
Yes, unfortunately we do have that as well. We do have a lot of humid conditions, and the issue with solar panels is that you need barren land. You need a vast amount of land without cloud cover or without a shading or shadow from large buildings.
So Southeast Asia is not really a great place, especially we have extreme weathers. There will be like raining season all year, all months, and then suddenly you have like really heaty situation like right now.
Definitely. But Southeast Asia by itself can't be lumped together. Malaysia is unique by itself. But if I were to give you Philippines, they have a lot of wind energy. In Malaysia, unfortunately, we don't have.
And that's true.
That's true.
So what is viable renewable energy in Malaysia?
I think the largest will still be hydropowers.
Yeah.
There are a lot of hydropower dams in Sabah and Sarawak, East Malaysia, that has generated a lot of energy for the East Malaysia segment of things. So that would still be
it is now quite a political issue when it comes to hydro energy, especially in Sarawak with the Baram Dam issue. So in this case, like in the future projection where the consumption will exceed the supply, how is the government going to fulfill the consumption need other than probably reduce the consumption?
Right. Like I mentioned earlier on, it wouldn't come from renewable energy sources. It will still come to the basic fossil fuels, more coal power, combined power plants, gas-fired power plants, so on and so forth. Renewable energy source would be an increasing need, but it wouldn't be sufficient to meet the demands of the energy industry in Malaysia.
Besides the digital technology industry, which you mentioned, the data center will consume a lot of the energy that will be produced in Southeast Asia or in Malaysia. What are the key sectors or industries that you projected by year 2040 will be one of the key consumer of energy?
It will still be the same as what they are right now. It will be coming from the industries and the commercial segment. But this is just from the electricity point of view. We have not even gone into transportation, where the energy for transportation is completely different. So that will be another segment, or that will be a huge interest as well to the government, as well as other corporates or startups who are looking into electric vehicle, electric bicycle as a future of reducing energy consumption.
That's true. Especially with Greater KL, there is a blueprint for Malaysia, in this case Kuala Lumpur, to be connected to Singapore and to create this whole roadmap of Greater KL. I think more energy consumption will be expected in these two countries especially.
Definitely. In Malaysia alone, there are a couple of grand plans being put in place. We talk about the MRT projects coming on board. We talk about the HSR, the high-speed railway project from Singapore to Malaysia, and the LRT expansion project. So definitely the transportation sector would be one with higher consumption. But that being said, one of the easiest or one of the more prominent ones that even normal end users or corporates or businesses can look into is the utilization of electricity in their own building. That would be one of the areas where we can look into in reducing energy consumption.
This is the end of our second segment of today, and we will continue with the third segment where we will discuss on the future of green technology.
You're now listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.